Welcome to the Intercourse Show. I'm your host, Mr. B. We are joining the president live in the Oval Office as he responds to reporters in a press conference. So let's go ahead and do that.
I spoke with President Erdogan of Turkey. He's fantastic. He's been pushing very hard. He's a very powerful guy, and he's been pushing very, very hard to get this deal done. And Hamas has a lot of respect for him. They have a lot of respect for Qatar. They have a lot of respect for UAE and Saudi Arabia. We have everybody is on our side to get this deal done. There's never been anything like it. Nobody's ever seen it. There's always been like 80% of them don't want something done. I think virtually we even had a signal, a very strong signal, as you know, from Iran. They'd like to see this done.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, Governor Abbott offered up the Texas National Guard to
good.
you. Have you had any other conversations with other red state governors?
Yeah, I have. They're willing to offer. Every one of them is willing to offer whatever we need. We thank Governor Abbott of Texas. Every one of the red state, as you call them, red state governors is willing to give whatever we need because they want our agents protected. You know, these ICE agents have a tough job. They have to go in and get, in many cases, stone cold criminals, hardened criminals, long-time criminals. And every essentially Republican governor has offered up whatever we need. And some Democratic governors also. Daniel?
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. Quick question on the subject of the order. The Biden administration, previously speaking, they shut down Alaska for business. You reversed it on day one. You opened it up, going after all the critical minerals. This mission of yours, Secretary Burgum, Secretary Biden, to boost our own independent production of critical minerals, rare
Well, it's
earths.
necessary,
Can you just talk
right?
about how important that is over the next 4 years, sir?
Well, it's very necessary. You know, in the past, we were able to go to other countries, buy whatever we want. But all of a sudden, if those countries are hostile, and by the way, China hasn't been. We've made deals with China. You know, they approved the TikTok deal. Everyone said you'd never get the TikTok deal approved. They approved it, and we have great people buying it. Big, strong American companies are buying it. The most prestigious companies there are, actually. And they're going to make sure everything's good. But President Xi was great. He approved it. So I'm not saying hostile, but it's good to have our own minerals. And, you know, we created tremendous value by creating a road. We build a road that only we can do because we have the rights to do it, number one, and we have the power to do it. And so we build a road that's over 200 miles long through a very beautiful area of the world. Actually, it's incredible. When you look at it, it's incredible, but a rough area from the standpoint of building. So we get a road done. And with that, we unleash billions and billions of dollars of wealth. It's pretty amazing when you think of it. And it's wealth that we need if we're going to be the number one country. You know, we're number one now with AI. You probably read. We're beating everybody with AI at levels that nobody ever thought even possible. And one of the reasons we are is because of energy. So our grid is old and tired, like most grids are. They get old with time. I mean, you know, the older you are, the older the grid gets, right? But I've allowed the people building AI or other plants, other types of plants, but AI in particular, because they need so much electricity, I've allowed them to build their own power. And it's been amazing. They're building massive plants. And with the plant, they're building their own electricity. They've become a utility in a sense. I said, maybe you'll do better with the utility than you do with the AI. I don't know. But we're letting them build their own electricity. So we don't have to worry about the grid. We don't have to worry about anything. And they're going to build it in such a way that if they have excess capacity, they're going to put it back into the grid. It's pretty amazing. So when they build, we're giving them permits to build their own electric power plants. And it's incredible when you see what they're doing. And because of that and other things that we're doing, we're leading every country. Nobody's even close to us with AI. And AI seems to be the big thing. I don't know. I can't tell you that. There are a lot of people building and a lot of people have high stock prices because of AI. So a lot of people think it's great stuff. And I think it's great stuff. I look at it, it's amazing what it can do. In terms of medical costs, in terms of knowledge, it's basically information and information at a level that nobody thought possible before. So we'll see. But they're building plants where you saw the one overlay that I did where, in this case, it's Meta. One of their plants is essentially almost the size of Manhattan. And that's a building, it's a building that covers Manhattan. So it's big stuff. And nobody's even close to us. We're leading AI by so much.
Mr. President,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
since the start of your administration, we've seen a lot more Americans wanting to join ICE. And as we're seeing more attacks on them right now, what's your message to rank and file ICE agents who are trying to do their jobs, but are facing 1,000% increase in attacks?
I love your questions, I like it. So who are you with?
I'm with NTD.
Very
I was
good.
the one who got mugged.
You were the one, that's what I thought. You got mugged. You're not getting mugged anymore.
No,
She was really, you're lucky to be with us with that deal that happened. I know all about that. Not anymore, though. You feel a different world out there, right?
Totally. You safe with the baby nowadays.
Oh, good. Well, you're safe now. Nobody's going to be hurting you in any way.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. President, almost, you're going to court today.
Thank you. So the bottom line on your question, we're just going to make things real safe. We're going to have a country that you can be proud of, not a country that you read about every day where somebody gets mugged from behind or hit over the head with a baseball bat. Those people aren't with us any longer. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. On today's call with Lula from Brazil,
Yeah.
are you considering lowering tariffs after the call?
Well, I had a great talk with the president of Brazil, who's a good man. I met him actually at the United Nations. I was going up to make a speech and I didn't have a teleprompter. I was walking up to my teleprompter. I said, I don't have a teleprompter. But just before that, I met with.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is Base 44. This is a first look at the current industry-leading AI app builder. And you wouldn't believe the kind of apps that people are creating. Smart nutrition apps, inventory trackers.
Prompter isn't on. You know why, Daniel? Because it was a rigged deal. But fortunately, I made a better speech than I would have if I read it off a teleprompter, which is pretty easy to do. So it was quite a day. That was a big day. But we met and we liked each other. And yeah, we had a great conversation. Yeah, we'll start doing business.
And are you considering coming to Brazil for COP?
At some point, I would, and he's going to come here. We talked about that.
And a follow-up question on Israel. Israel government has been arresting and reporting activists that were traveling to Gaza. Today, Greta Thunberg, for instance, also some.
Well, she's just a troublemaker, I mean, she's no longer into the environment. Now she's into this. She's a troublemaker. She has an anger management problem. I think she should see a doctor. She needs anger. If you ever watch her, she's a young person. She's so angry. She's so crazy. Now you can have her. She's just a troublemaker. Yeah,
The
please.
Supreme Court is back in its term today, Mr. President. and
Say it.
The Supreme Court is back in
Yeah.
session. They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance of getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it.
You're
I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider. I don't know anything about it. So, but I will speak to the
Why would
DOJ.
she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I'd have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly.
Supply Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, sell them to NATO, let them sell them to Ukraine.
Yeah, I've sort of made a decision pretty much. If you consider, yeah, I think I want to find out what they're doing with them.
Yes.
Where are they sending them? I guess I'd have to ask that question. That war should never have started, would have never started. Such bad judgment was used there. I think on both sides, by the way. But nobody looks good with the war with Russia and Ukraine. Nobody. It's been a horrible. This week they lost over 7,000 soldiers between the two of them. This is every week they're losing 7,000, 8,000, 5,000.
They have a range of like 1,500 miles or something, and so they'd be able to.
No, I know. No, I would ask some questions. I want to see what's. I'm not looking to see escalation.
Yes. And tomorrow you're meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister. What's on the agenda for that?
Well, I guess he's going to ask about tariffs because a lot of companies from Canada are moving into the United States. Everybody's moving back into the U.S. and he's probably going to be asking about tariffs. They're losing a lot of companies in Canada. They're coming into they left here. They left here 20 years ago when presidents that sat right at this desk weren't doing their job properly. They were probably good politicians, but they weren't good at business, and they allowed these companies to leave. And all they had to do is do what I'm doing right now. And, I'm not saying it's the easiest thing to do, but it is. It's effective. We're a rich country again. We're a powerful country because, I've ended 7 wars. At least half of them was because of my ability at trade and because of tariffs. If I didn't have tariffs to throw around a little bit, you would have at least 4 wars raging right now with thousands of people a day being killed that aren't happening. We settled. We settled 7. We're getting close to settling 8. That would be a big one. And that's something that could happen. But so I think he's coming probably to talk about tariffs because a lot of companies are leaving Canada to come into the U.S. And they're leaving Mexico. And by the way, they're leaving China. They're leaving all over the world to come into the U.S.
And would you shift,
Nobody's actually seen anything like it.
would you shift your position on tariffs in response to whatever?
Well, I mean, look, my positions turned out to, everybody said I'm right. They find billions of dollars that they didn't even know they had. Recently, they said they found billions of dollars and they couldn't understand. I said, check the tariff shelf. And they come in the next hour and they said, sir, you're right. It was from the tariffs. We're a rich, really rich country again, but more importantly, maybe influence. If I didn't have the power of tariffs, you would have at least 4 of the 7 wars raging. I use tariffs to stop wars. If you look at India and Pakistan, they were ready to go at it. 7 planes were shot down. They were ready to go at it, and they're nuclear powers. And I don't want to say exactly what I said, but what I said was very effective. They stopped. And that was based on tariffs. It was based on trade. Tariffs are very important for the United States. We are a peacekeeper because of tariffs. Not only do we make, hundreds of billions of dollars, but we're a peacekeeper because of tariffs.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
On the shutdown, Mr. President, the shutdown that occurred during your first term lasted 35 days.
Yeah.
How long do you expect this shutdown to go?
Well, you don't know. Look, I can say this, that it would have not happened except for the Democrats. The Democrats are very foolish. They've lost their way. And we have a new thing now. When you look at, it's called crime. It's called absolute, as Biden would say, well, I won't say what he would have said. Remember when he said, it's a 3-letter word, no. Remember that one? Everyone say, what was that all about? He probably meant exclamation point or something after the word. But this is a 5-letter word, crime, C-R-I-M-E. And we want to put it out and are putting it out. And they don't seem to care about it, but they do care. I believe that Pritzker and this mayor of Chicago that like to say about they don't have it under control. Not only is it not under control, it's the opposite. And I believe they're afraid. They're scared for their lives. I believe that the Portland people are scared. You look at what's happened with Portland over the years. It's a burning hellhole. And then you have a judge that lost her way that tries to pretend that like there's no problem. Actually, she's not even saying that. There's a huge problem in Portland. I'll tell you what the problem is. Crime. Okay, crime. It's a huge problem in Chicago. It's called crime. And we want to put out the crime. And they want to inflame the crime. And why they want to, I don't know. But it could be that Pritzker is scared for his life. Yeah.
You
appointed that judge as
on the
well, Mr.
UN, do you
President.
have an update on the investigation into what happened to you at the UN last month? And also, what's your message to Americans who are concerned about your and your family's safety as you're very out in public?
Yeah, I am out there. There's no question about it. Well, at the UN, we had a problem with the teleprompter. We had another problem that nobody has actually talked about. The people in the room didn't hear my speech. Did you know that? The people in the room, they didn't have any loudspeakers and they didn't hear my speech. And I thought I made a really good speech. I mean, considering I didn't have the use of teleprompter, which is unusual, but I made a speech. I could have walked off the stage. I guess most people Doug, I think most people would have just said, we'll see you in about a half an hour, right? But, they obviously turned off I think they turned off the teleprompter, but there was a reason that it didn't work. I actually know the reason. They didn't let the teleprompter person into the room, okay, which is essentially the same thing. So I made a speech. It turned out to be a very good speech, got good reviews. I went out to the audience after the speech. I saw my wife. I said, how good was that speech? Was that unbelievable or what? She said, I didn't hear a word you said. I said, what do you mean? She was sitting in the front. I said, what do you mean? She said, you couldn't hear anything that you said. The speakers were turned off. So I think that's pretty bad stuff, right? Especially since we support most of the United Nations. And yet I still want to keep it in New York because I think the United Nations has tremendous potential. If properly run, the United States has tremendous potential. But think of this. I settled 7 wars. I never spoke to the United Nations about it. Not one of them. You look at, and those were wars that were raging a long time, and in many cases. And I settled 7. I never heard from the United. They didn't help me. They should be able to settle the wars. I shouldn't have to be settling the wars. Yeah, please.
Last week, you signed the security guarantees for Qatar.
Yeah.
Do you see any role for the Senate in that they have to vote on that? Or do you think?
Well, I wouldn't mind if they did. If they want to, they'd let me know. Nobody said that, but Qatar has been very, very helpful to us in this process, and I think you'll find that. I think maybe the most influential. They're very influential, very strong. With Hamas, they're very strong, and Turkey's likewise been helpful. I mean, honestly, UAE, Saudi Arabia, everybody's been helpful. I just spoke today with the King of Jordan, and he's been terrific too. I can't think of any country that's been negative about this. This is why it should happen. I mean, everybody wants it to happen. And usually when everybody, including, I think, Hamas, and when they want it to happen, it's going to happen.
James Comey is being arraigned on Wednesday,
Yeah.
obviously after his indictment. Are you worried that your own statements calling for his prosecution could help him actually in his defense of this case?
No, I think he's a crooked guy. He's a dirty cop. Comey, I think he's a dirty cop. He's recognized by many people to be a dirty cop and dishonest guy. So all I have to do is, I mean, I have nothing to do with the case. I just say,
But you
Good
called
luck.
him Bondi to prosecute him and oppose
no,
him.
I don't call anybody. You know what? I'm allowed to do that if I wanted to do that. But Comey's a crooked guy. He has been for years. And he got caught. Look, he lied. This is just a simple case. He totally lied. And then he confirmed the lie on, I guess, numerous occasions, or at least one occasion. He confirmed the lie. He said, that's what I said, and I stand by it. And, I mean, the guy, and he didn't say, to the best of my knowledge. He didn't say, well, I don't remember. He made a very definitive statement and a very important statement concerning him. And he got caught in an outright lie. And that's why a group of people, it wasn't me that voted, they voted to indict him. But he's a crooked guy, in my opinion, and we'll find out. The court's going to determine that in a little while, I guess. Yeah,
You met
President,
with
do you
members
expect
of the
to
Navy
announce farm
yesterday,
relief
Mr.
this
President.
week?
yeah, I'm going to do some farm stuff this weekend.
You met with
Yeah,
members of
please.
the Navy yesterday celebrating.
It was unbelievable.
their 250th. Can you talk about that? And as we get closer to America's 250th, you've initiated a prayer initiative as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about both of those events and why they're so important, particularly the prayer initiative going forward to the.
Well, we have, and we're dealing, as you know, with all of the different, and not just evangelicals, Christians. We're dealing with lots of different faiths, religions. And I felt for a long time that, if a country doesn't have religion, doesn't have faith, doesn't have God, it's going to be very hard to be a good country. There's no reason to be good. I want to be good because you want to prove to God that you're good, so you go to that next step.
What a great
right?
point.
So that's very important to me. I think it's really very important. And yesterday was amazing. We went to the naval base, the largest in the world, actually, and I saw things that were incredible. The level of I don't want to use the word weapons, but they are weapons. Is the technology on these planes, on the carriers, on all of the different things that we saw. They gave us missile displays. They did the whole. I don't think they've ever done anything like it, but it was really impressive. And the talent of the pilots, where they can land. The aircraft carriers look massive, but when you put them in the middle of like the Atlantic, or in this case, pretty far off the coast of Virginia, and it's sitting in a big ocean, and it was pretty calm yesterday, but it's still a little bit testy, right? And you'd have these guys land right on a thing and come to a sudden screeching halt. And they're really something. They were taking off yesterday, and they look over, yes, sir. And then you see them, and you see them just get ripped back into the seat because the G-forces are so great. And actually, if you're not in great shape, because they were doing maneuvers that were incredible yesterday, and the admirals were explaining that if you're not in really good shape, you don't make it because you pass out. These guys and women. I met some women pilots that it's incredible what they're able to do. So we saw something that was great, and you saw the spirit, because we had for a couple of thousand. I think they had probably 22,000, largely sailors, all dressed in the most beautiful white. There wasn't a spot on any of those uniforms. I looked at them; it was just a wave of white. And it was a great crowd and great reception. So, getting back to a very important question that was asked, when you go back a year ago, people weren't joining the armed forces. They weren't joining the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the Coast Guard, Air Force. If you look at, any of them, they weren't joining the Space Force. And now we're setting records recruitment. And that goes for the police and fire. Now they want to be policemen, they want to be firemen. And firemen, people don't mention them, but they're incredible. I know so many of them, they're brave as hell. I wouldn't want to do it, tell you. But they weren't able to recruit. The police weren't able to recruit. And the military wasn't able to recruit. We were really off. And I got elected, and it really started on November 5th. I got elected, and somehow the country developed a spirit, financially, yes, but also with the military. And now we have record levels of people wanting to be in. Every force is filled. We have waiting lists to get into the Marines, to the Army, to the Navy, to the Air Force. We have Coast Guard. We have waiting lists to get in. It's amazing, actually, what's happened. We have a country it was a dead country. And I say it all the time. We had a dead country 1 year ago. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And it's nice to see. I've watched you for years on television. So it's nice to meet you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Let's head out. Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
You doing all right? You were younger than you did 10 years ago. Not bad. I'm working. Let me know the secret.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? I did. I think you should have, Daniel. Big rating for us?
It's huge.
I did an interview with him. You know why? I turned down 60 minutes. I said, Daniel, because you don't treat me nice.
That was Donald Trump press conference. He answered a few questions about the proposed peace deal with Gaza and in Gaza, as well as a few questions on a few other local topics. So definitely stay in the loop. For those of you who's not connected, we are trying to bring you more and more current events that's actually taking place. So like and subscribe so that you can be informed when we host a live feed. So until we speak again, have a blessed day.